Welcome to Wildly Unplugged, sharing stories of nature, conservation, and creativity. Discover what develops when you unplug and step outdoors. Welcome, Noah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Tell me a little bit about your business and where the name came from and how long you've been in business.
Yeah, Equinox, a friend of mine started it in 2016. So this is growing into year 9 now. And we got the name from there's a rock climb in Camden called Equinox, and we took it from that. And it made sense for who we were and what we wanted to focus on climbing in the off seasons, which is like spring and fall here. So that's how we got the name, and it's stuck. We threw out all these different mountains, and yeah, nothing really stuck as a good name. Yeah, and we do rock and ice climbing, and then we do some mountaineering as well. Mostly in Maine. I do to New Hampshire a little bit. And yeah, I've been going other places as well, all over the place now. But mostly we're based here in Maine, in Camden.
So, why do you focus on the off season for climbing?
The busy seasons, like the high seasons, are in Maine is July, August. So it's really easy to make that work. And then winter's also really easy, right? We have ice climbing here and mountaineering. So those two sort of seasons that you're going to get clients or people are going to come out. But the spring and the fall are unique times to get outside. Like they're the changes of seasons. It's cool to be out during those times, especially in the fall is just super cool to be outside. In the spring's also really cool because the cliff tends to warm up a lot more, especially on the coast. So I'll be rock climbing in April, even in the end of March sometimes because the it heats up more. So we decided to focus on those areas as times when not everybody's getting outside yet, and it's a unique time to be out there. So that's why we chose that name.
You guys are coming up on almost a decade, so that model must be working for you guys.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
must like a challenge between the rock climbing and catering to the off seasons.
yeah, I feel really fortunate that we've made it this far. It still is tickles me that people are like, "Hey, I want to go climbing in Acadia this weekend." It's okay, cool. Like it's just is amazing that it has worked out and it's lasted this long. So I'm just really grateful for it.
That's really cool. Congratulations, guys. So, what were you doing before you came over to Equinox? Did you have some sort of pivotal moment where you're like, I need a job where I am working outside?
So my dad is actually a guide, and he's been a guide my whole life for 30 something years. And I did a lot of outdoor education. I went to school at College of the Atlantic in Bar Harbor. It's a super liberal arts college. And yeah, just the whole time I was drawn to outdoor stuff. Like growing up, we would go on canoe trips or we'd just be outdoors. And it was the place that I felt the safest, I would say. I remember like being a kid and just like camping outside all summer in the backyard. And in Maine, that's what we do. We just go outside and that's where we want to be. When I went to college, I did a week-long orientation course where we just climbed all week. And I was just hooked from then on. That was just what I wanted to do. And then I moved away. I moved to New Hampshire, moved to Vermont, moved to Colorado. I lived in New York City for a little while and did lots of different jobs where I was either outdoors or indoors teaching rock climbing or all sorts of different stuff. And then starting my own business was, I don't know, it just reflecting on where my dad did and knowing that was a really good path for me to be my own boss and not have to answer to other people and to just create the experience that I want other people to have was like huge for me to be like, I really want everybody to climb. Like, I really believe everybody can climb and not everybody's going to want to do it. And I like totally get that. But it's, part of why I started it was because I wanted to make it accessible and I wanted people to come and learn how to go out and be outside and do this really cool sport that challenges you in really unique ways, I think.
I'm glad you brought that last part up because I do have a fear of heights. I do rappelling, or not, have done rappelling in the past, but my son loves to do zip lining. And the first time I ever went, I made the mistake of telling them that I was afraid of it. And when I finally took that leap off that ledge to go, they're like, "Oh, we forgot to attach you." And I'm like, "Oh, very funny." As I'm like going down, and they were trying to be really funny about it, but that kind of made me nervous. So, what are
Yeah.
some things that you do for people to help them get over their fear? Because I think a lot of people have a fear of heights.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And I have this philosophy. I don't know if this is true or not, but my philosophy is like we were all kids and our parents just grabbed us and pulled us away from cliffs and became that scary thing in our heads. And then we have this like connotation to it. But I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my like theory. So what I do is I start off people really easy. I do like the shortest, easiest climb, and we just climb up like 10 feet, not even like a ladder height, and then just test the rope out and come back down and then regroup. And that's the beauty of rock climbing is you don't always have to make it to the top. You can make it up 10 feet. Like whatever your challenge level is who you are. And I try to really support people in that and have like we can all go rock climbing, but everybody can have their own unique experience and challenge themselves with whatever feels challenging for them. That's the thing that I love about it is just being able to customize and create this like unique experience for whatever your goals are. So if your goal specifically was just to experience rock climbing and not necessarily get off the ground super high, but like at least try it out and see how you like it, that's what we're here for. It's just to have that like unique one-on-one, really intimate experience that creates something that challenges you for where you're at.
So, I have 5 questions and I'm trying to think of which one I want to ask first. No, that's great. So that's how we can get started. Does it require a lot of upper body strength?
Not really. That's like a mystifying thing, I would say. Like you're really balancing with your hands and you're pushing yourself up the cliff. So where we are in Camden, it's a lot of slabs, so it's like more of a horizontal, not as like vertical as you would think of climbing over a cliff or whatever. And so that really lends itself to smearing where you're just padding up the wall. I don't know if you've ever seen this, like there's like an Instagram video of this like monk with his hands behind his back and he's just like walking straight up the slab. That's what it's like. So you don't necessarily need your hands, but your hands are there to just balance you. And the more you can learn that sort of basic technique, it really carries through into harder and harder stuff. And there's tons of like moderate, easy climbs out there that just are all about your legs. But we just see it as this hard, crazy thing where we're pulling over overhangs with our arms, which is just like the connotation to climbing in general.
Yeah, I just picture like Tom Cruise in some sort of action movie, like just scaling something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, are there certain types of exercises we can be doing? I guess I can't say in the off season because you guys don't really have an off season, but like for me in Cincinnati, it's pretty flat around here. We do have a couple indoor rock climbing places, but what are some good things that we could be doing to make sure that we're in a good physical condition to start climbing?
Yeah, I do just a lot of hanging. So they make these like hang boards you can just hang off your fingers. And that's what I do a lot of. Just general running. I do a lot of running. And what else do I do? Yeah, just general like cardio. I try to strengthen the back of my hand. So because you're like gripping this way a lot, you tend to forget about the like opposite pulley, the pulley part of it. So I use this, it's like a stick that has like tension to it. And that helps me strengthen the opposite, the pulleys of my fingers and hands, because those are what hurts the most for me. Like I get a lot of tennis elbow or golfer's elbow just from moving ropes around a lot is what I get. And those are all helpful things. There's a couple books out there that are awesome for training for rock climbing. You can get really into training for it and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's I think the hardest part is the mental part. So there's a really great book called The Rock Warrior's Way, and it's just about training your mental capability to challenge yourself and to move through that fear that comes along with it. The fear of falling, right? That's what we come up against. So it's a cool book because it gives you a step-by-step way to move through that fear and let go of it and then allow you to just climb.
Sounds like it could be a good, useful tool for anything in life too.
Yeah. That's
Wow.
why I love this is it's such a transferable skill. Like you're dealing with fear in a very like smack in your face way. And it just allows people to work with that, like to work with that internally and how they can move through that. And that's what I really pride myself on is like supporting people with that process. What does this feel for you? And like how can I assist you in that? So yeah, it's cool that way.
It is a pretty rewarding feeling. I was a scuba diving instructor for a little while, and to see the look on somebody's face when they've had a really good dive, it's I'm just as excited for them as they are for their first experience, which I'm sure you probably feel pretty similar to. So what are some of the benefits? Like the views, are they amazing? What does that look like in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so the views are spectacular, getting to the top and just feeling like what you're talking about, the sense of accomplishment is there. And in Camden, we have a big lake that's in the background, so you get to see the surrounding hills and lake get above the canopy, which is cool. In Acadia, where I go a lot, it's just ocean. You're like on the ocean and you get to see the Atlantic Ocean all the way out, which is cool. So the waves are crashing underneath you, which is cool. I think it climbing in general just brings you to all these cool places. Like it's not it's like diving, right? You're like, oh, we got to go dive there. We got to go dive there. It's like kind of the same thing where you're get excited about going exploring the different climbs and the different areas. Like we have a trip in April to Greece, so we'll be in on Kalymnos, which is a island in the Mediterranean that's just all rock climbing, 3,500 climbs in the middle of the ocean, which is so cool to just be able to go there and then go rock climbing. So that's like some of the beauty of it is seeing different places, experiencing different rock formations. Like on Kalymnos, there's goats everywhere. So you're just like hanging out with the goats. And then in Maine, it's a lot of oceans, a lot of lakes, and all that stuff. And then the benefits are just like being outside is like awesome and experiencing weather and seeing the clouds and connecting just with nature in general, I think is sweet. And climbing just challenges you and I think it makes you even more present because you're having to deal with those fears and those letting goes and you're able to just be there rather than think about all the things that are going on. I think in a lot of ways it is like relative to like meditation or something like that, where you're just able to let go of that stuff and then be focused on what you're doing, which is pretty cool.
It's very hard to check your emails when you're out in the middle of the woods, especially if you're using your hands for climbing.
Yeah.
You'll leave all that stuff behind. What is some gear that newbies can get to help them start this journey?
Yeah, I just had climbing shoes and a chalk bag, and I would go boulder. I would bike from school to Acadia National Park and find the spot and just there was this like crack that was like not very high off the ground, and I would just traverse the crack. And that's how I got started. So you don't need a lot, and probably I didn't even need that stuff. I probably could have just used the shoes I had. But yeah, that's a basis. Those are the base things. When you come with Equinox, we have shoes, harness, helmets. We provide all that stuff. So you don't necessarily need it all, which is nice. And then a lot of the gyms too, you can have rental gear and all that sort of stuff's there, which is awesome. But yeah, the having a shoes and chalk bag are nice to have your own shoes that you're
Yeah,
not
it's
use other people's things. It's nice.
like when you go bowling and you have to wear those shoes.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
your own for that. Do you have personal gear now that you've done this for quite a while? Is there something that you like, I can't rock climb without this particular thing?
I think there's not, I have lots of carabiners and lots of draws and lots of cams. Like we do a lot of trad climbing here. So there's, yeah, it's my like relationship with a lot of that gear has changed over time where it's not, at first it was like, oh, I got to get the thing and have the thing. And now it's just a tool. And so I don't always, before I had like my lucky sling or like the cam that I really love to put in this specific spot. And now it's more like I have the thing to do the thing. And so it's different. I walked into a gear store the other day and it was like it just didn't tickle me in the same way that it used to, where I was like, oh, I gotta get that new thing. It was just like, yeah, these are all stuff that I use on my job, which is it's just a different perspective. But at first, like I resonate with people when they start because they get all excited about getting all the things. So they're like, I got to get the harness. Oh, I want to try that thing out. And there's an addiction part of it that is there for sure.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I have these things called belay glasses, which have a little prism in them, and you clip them on. Mine clip on your glasses, but they make like standalone glasses. And those are awesome because I'm just looking up all day and my neck really starts to hurt. So I can just look straight ahead and look up the cliff at whoever's climbing. And those are super helpful for just me working all day. And gloves are the other thing that I use all day because the rope's just running through my hands all the time.
Mm,
So I would say those two things are pretty critical for me.
very good. And then have you seen environmental changes or concerns over the years? And what are some things that, as a climber, you can do to help advocate for change?
Yeah. So ice climbing, I don't know if we'll be ice climbing in 10 years. Like I think it'll probably be pretty done 10 to 20 years. There probably won't be as much ice as there was. And then rock, we haven't seen a huge change. There's definitely more water sometimes or less water. It just depends. And then the snowpack is obviously going down a lot, especially in the Northeast. And then, as what I do to advocate for those things, I'm part of 1% for the planet. So we always give back to a different organization. I try to choose different ones that I give to every year. And usually they're climbing related. So the Access Fund I gave to a couple of years ago, and they preserve land for climbers and help advocate for climbers to conserve land and then help maintain the land by building trails and doing other stuff like that. And then I always am like trying to harp on LNT to my clients or not leaving stuff behind and making sure that we are taking care of that environment and having good interactions with people, like making sure those landowners know how much we appreciate it. Like, especially here, like Camden Hill State Park is where we go a lot. And it's nice to just have those good relationships and be able to cultivate them and participate in that is awesome. I think that's one of the benefits of like climbing is you get to go experience these places and then have a relationship with them and then be like, wow, we got to keep that. So I think that's like one of the biggest things I feel like I give people is just that relationship with land and that sense of place and the ability to know that they can help it out or like they are part of the environment and that connection there to earth.
Good. Do you have, as a business, what are some long-term goals? Do you have anything that you guys are going to be shifting to coming up, or things are going good and you're going to keep on trekking?
Yeah, I can teach some of the American Mountain Guide Association courses now. I'm teaching the climbing wall instructor program and the single pitch instructor program. So I have some of the single pitch instructor programs coming up, a couple here in Camden and one in Acadia. And then this climbing wall instructor is at gyms. So I'll be going to some gyms and teaching that curriculum as well. So those are two things that are really big changes for Equinox. And then our longer trips. So the Kalimnos trips that's happening this spring is I've been there in the past and taken guided people in the past, but this is a more first endeavor into it, which I'm really excited about because I'm from Greece. My grandfather is from Greece, this specific place, but it's cool to go back there and just be a part of that culture. And then we're headed to Joshua Tree in the fall. So we'll do a 2 or 3 day, maybe 4 day trip there, probably in November or December. And that will be awesome to get out there. I've been there several times and it's just a cool place to explore and connect with. So I would say those are the newer things that I'm doing that are different than I have done in the past, trying to fill in those off-season times as much as I can with different things. Yeah.
Very good. And as a scuba diver, like we have, it's definitely a community, and we get together and we meet once a month and they do different activities and stuff like that. Would you say climbing is pretty similar? You guys start building a community and almost like a family in a way?
Yeah, like a lot of my guides are here and know other people. And yeah, it's like you're super based in the community and we all support each other, which is really cool. So a lot of my good climbing partners live around here and developed a lot of the cliff and are just like part of what it means to be a climber here. And some of those partners turn into clients, which is pretty wild. It's just we all try to support each other and allow that to get cultivated. It's pretty cool. It's just such a growing community too. So in climbing, there's a huge mentorship gap right now where there's a ton of new climbers and there's not enough people to teach them the ways or how to be at the cliff. That's one of the big things I'm trying to help and instill in the next generation of climbers is just like how to be a climber. It's not always intuitive like scuba diving.
Yeah. Why do you suppose that is, that there isn't enough mentors right now?
There's just a ton of new climbers. The gyms have really started pumping out climbers and they're not necessarily learning the skills to go outdoors and be outdoors. And it's a huge risk like scuba diving. There are things we can do to mitigate those risks, but it's still a risky thing at the end of the day. So I think that's a big part of it is like there's some fear to go outside, and then there's just a lot of ways to get information now. People are getting information different ways and then still going outside thinking that they know what they know, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious because, like, in the diving community, at least where I'm at, you have a lot of older divers and then you have a lot of new people, like younger in their 20s. They haven't quite started a family and career yet. So I didn't know if it was like the hustle culture and everybody's, oh, I got to work and I don't have time for leisurely things. And I don't think that necessarily is a leisurely thing. I think that climbing or diving or being outside is something that everybody needs to do to really reset, and it's good for them. But
Yeah. Yeah.
what is your personal favorite moment in nature?
Oh, oh man. I was just thinking of my moment yesterday. I was like in Acadia on this cliff that's I've been to not that many times, like 3 or 4 times. And I'm halfway up the climb with these new climbers. They'd never ice climbed before. And I'm leading the climb. I'm not sure if I can make it up it. The ice is a little funky. I'm just like sussing it out. And I'm like got the screws in and I'm just like taking a moment to get myself back together. And my client yells, "Oh, is that an eagle? Is that an eagle up there?" And I'm like, "Really? An eagle?" And like I look over and he's just chilling. He's just chilling up there, checking us out. It was a pretty cool moment. It's not my favorite probably in the whole world, but that was the most recent good moment. But there's a lot of that. You're just out there and you get to experience the animals and the plants and it's just cool. Yeah. We didn't see anybody yesterday. We saw some people in the parking lot. That was it. And an eagle. And
And then
that's pretty cool.
sounds like a good climb to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then what would be your favorite place in nature? It could be in Maine, it could be anywhere in the world.
Yeah. One of my favorite places is the Allagash Wilderness Waterway, which is in northern Maine. It flows north, so it flows from Katahdin area to Canada. And yeah, it's just like a really remote river. It's in conservation and the campsites are amazing. They're like all have ridge poles and picnic tables and really nice outhouses. And you're paddle camping, so you're like paddle from campsite to campsite. Yeah, I've been down it 8 times and it just every time there's something special that happens and it's just I don't know, it's just a really cool place that I really love and cherish. And not a lot of people are up there too, which is awesome.
That sounds really nice. You said it was cold where you were at right now, and it's cold in Cincinnati too. And I do not deal with cold very well. What are some tips that you have for dealing with the cold?
Yeah, hot drinks. Always have hot drinks like tea or even like Gatorade. Hot Gatorade is like amazing.
Huh.
Yeah. And then always just keep moving. Don't stop and hang out. That's like my big one is even yesterday we were getting cold and I was like, okay, it's time to go. Let's go. And you just got to keep those big muscle groups moving. And then lots of layers. I always bring a big puffy and big gloves and gear makes a huge difference in that. And then one of my favorite techniques is this thing where you can essentially to warm up your hands, you lock your elbows and you like stick your hands straight out and you just shrug your shoulders and it pushes on an artery in your shoulders and pumps blood to your hands. And that's one of my favorite ones. You look like a penguin when you're doing it, but it works really well.
I guess if it works for penguins, then
Yeah.
I'm going to use that one because my hands are always cold. You made me think of something in the diving community. We have something called narrowing perception. Like when you start getting uncomfortable during a dive, like you're really cold, you start forgetting about the surroundings around you and you only focus on what is making you uncomfortable. And that's time to cut a dive and end it. Do you guys have anything like that in the diving or in the climbing community or any superstitions? Because we're very superstitious too. If three things go wrong in a dive, it's okay, we're done. We got to cut it.
Yeah, I have some personal philosophies around that, but I don't think there's some superstitions like around crows, but not like scary things. It's just crows are mountaineers or climbers that have passed away and they just look over us. So stuff
Oh,
like that, more of like spiritual stuff. And then yeah, we have this thing called expert halo, which is just too much and you're more liable to get into trouble. So I talk about that a lot in a lot of my courses. And then just like risk management. I think that three rule is cool because I always talk about you start the day and you're like your funnel's like super big and like you're out of bed and you're like super comfortable. And then as the day goes on, you make different decisions and that like chance of a risk, which is at the bottom of the funnel, gets greater and greater. So that's when the accident happens, is when you make a decision and it could be the wrong decision, right? And so that funnel gets smaller. So I like that three though, that resonates with me, but not as obviously there's a lot more factors going on. Yeah.
yeah, it's if you blow an O-ring and you drop something or you forgot something, it's okay. We had three bad things happen. It's time to just call it a day. So
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
to work for people. So
Yeah. The amount of times I've tried to find a cliff and I've just found the cliff and been like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'm just gonna go back now because that's all you need to do is just find the cliff. And that was the hard part that day. So, yeah, just got to make good decisions, I think.
So when you say find a cliff, are you hiking in far distances a lot of times to get to these places?
The ones in Maine, it depends. So it depends on my clients. Like my clients yesterday, they're going to the Himalayas and like they're gonna trek into base camp for Everest. And so I was like, okay, we can hike. But if it's like a climber that's, yeah, I want to just climb a bunch, I'm not gonna hike in that far. I'm gonna go to somewhere closer. And then the more you hike, the less developed the climbs are in a lot of ways. Like climbers are really lazy and they want to go to the stuff that's right next to the road. But the ones that are some of my favorite climbs are longer hikes in and more adventurous, multiple pitches up, and you like hike off the top. So, like on Katahdin, there's some amazing rock climbs that basically you summit the mountain and then you hike off. And those are like some of my favorite climbs, just adventure like pure rock climbing up in a really beautiful place. Those are cool. You remember them.
Very cool. So it sounds like you need a lot of skills to be doing what you're doing, like wilderness navigation and probably survival at some points and making sure it's pretty awesome what you're doing. And it really sounds like you guys are accommodating a diverse group of people. So where can people find you if they want to start climbing with you guys?
Yeah, we're based in Camden, so we're on 20 Mechanic Street in Camden. I'm not here all the time right now, obviously, but in the summer we're here pretty much every day. And then we have a website, equinoxguidingservice.com, and you can find us on there. And then we're on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff as well. But yeah, that's the easiest way to find us. And you can shoot me a message on there or reach out via our phone number too.
Very good. And I'll make sure to tag the website and Instagram in the show notes so people can find you. And what is one tip that you have for someone that would like to connect with nature?
I think just like getting out there, that's the hardest part for me, is just walking out the door in the morning and just sitting outside or being outside is that's always a challenge for me. And I think that's we can all go do that, which is pretty cool. So just go out there and just be. You don't have to do anything.
Very good. Thank you so much, Noah. And until next time, get outside and see what develops. Wildly Unplugged podcast is a production of Wild Development Studio. The views, opinions, and statements expressed by individuals during Wild Development Studio's productions do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Wild Development Studio or its affiliates. Participation in any activities, expeditions, or adventures discussed or promoted during our content may involve inherent risks. It is strongly advised that individuals conduct thorough research, seek professional guidance, and take all necessary precautions before engaging in such activities or venturing into wilderness areas. Wild Development Studio, its representatives, or employees shall not be held responsible for any injury, loss, damage, accident, or unforeseen incident that may occur as a result of participating in activities inspired by or discussed in our content. By choosing to engage with our content or act upon any information provided, individuals do so at their own risk and discretion.